April 19th, Matthew chapter 5. We are in the Sermon on the Mount and on Proverbs chapter 19. I want to tell you a quick story about Matthew chapter 5. I haven't told many people this, but Matthew chapter 5 was actually the first memory chapter I ever did. I tell people I have 46 chapters of the Word of God that I memorized, and I really don't count Matthew chapter 5 among them because the 46 chapters that I quote every month on a regular basis. But years before that, the first year as a Christian, I memorized Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5 has 48 verses. And that was before I learned that memorizing is supposed to be a sweet thing, that every verse is like getting to know one of your children. You want to take weeks or a month to do one verse at a time and never go on to the next verse until you're really, really ready. And I did memorizing like most people do. I was trying to impress God. And so I got those first 5 verses down, and the next 5 verses, and then the next 10 verses, and the next 10 verses. And then I'm just shoving down the last 10, and then I shoved down the next 10, and then vomited it all up and never quoted it again. And I just thought memorizing was the hardest thing in the planet because I didn't realize I was trying to memorize to impress God rather than just enjoy the juicy steak of each verse 1 month. Take one verse maybe per month. And so Matthew chapter 5 was my first failure that years later taught me how to actually memorize the Word of God correctly. But I will tell you one verse out of Matthew chapter 5 that's very sweet to me. When I first became a Christian, and I was reading Matthew chapter 5, what lit me up in it was when I read verse 6. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. And I remember those first few years just saying, God, I don't know what it means to be righteous, but I hunger and I thirst for it. Eventually God showed me and I understood about the breastplate of righteousness. And I didn't even realize till maybe 10 years later that God was answering that prayer when he taught me about the breastplate of righteousness. But for many years I just cried out, God, I hunger and I thirst for your righteousness. So I love Matthew 5 verse 6. Now let's go ahead and switch over to Proverbs, because today, April 19th, Proverbs chapter 19, I have a really kind of special verse for you. Verse 4 is a real nugget for me because it says, wealth brings many friends, but a poor man's friends desert him. And I look at that and I realize that applies accurately in the area of money, but I don't know that it means specifically money. I think that wealthy people are people who are wealthy in heart, wealthy in spirit, wealthy in kindness, wealthy in smiles, wealthy in listening, wealthy in caring, wealthy in compassion, wealthy in generosity of affirmation. And poor people are people who are parsed and minimal and cannot ever give a kind word and are always desperate to have more. I need. And so you can be poor and have poverty of soul, and a poor man's friends desert him. So I realize that might primarily apply to money, but I think the best application of this is the soul. I tell my kids all the time, I joke that I say, because I'm married to Beth and because I have the best job in the world, I tell my kids all the time, I said, I'm the richest man in the whole world. You ought to get my autograph because I am so rich. Now, I don't have that much money, but I'm still the richest man in the whole world. And wealth of soul brings many friends, but a poor man's friends desert him. I pray today that you have wealth of soul, that the Lord fills your heart with much joy and many friends. God bless you. Have a great day.